Something quietly shifted inside the world's most secretive battery laboratories during the opening months of 2026, and most drivers have no idea it happened. For years, three different chemical paths competed for the title of next-generation electric vehicle battery, each backed by billions of dollars and armies of engineers convinced their approach would win. Then, almost without warning, two of those paths were abandoned. The entire industry pivoted toward a single chemistry, and the reason behind this sudden alignment reveals more about the future of electric cars than any product launch held this year. The metal at the center of this story is one almost everyone touched today without noticing. The abandoned candidates were oxide-based and polymer-based electrolytes, two approaches that absorbed enormous research budgets throughout the last decade. Both delivered respectable laboratory results, but each carried structural problems that refused to disappear no matter how much money was thrown at them. Oxide electrolytes proved too brittle and demanded manufacturing temperatures that sent costs through the roof, while polymer electrolytes struggled to conduct ions efficiently at the temperatures drivers actually experience on cold winter mornings. The winning chemistry that replaced them works with sulfide-based compounds, and the difference in performance is dramatic enough to explain why entire research programs were quietly shut down across Asia, Europe, and North America. Sulfide compounds allow lithium ions to travel through the solid material at speeds that approach what liquid electrolytes deliver inside conventional batteries today. This single property unlocks two improvements. Drivers can feel immediately behind the wheel, charging sessions that finish in a fraction of the current time, and reliable performance when outside temperatures drop below freezing. Toyota's latest experimental cells using sulfide chemistry have reached conductivity numbers that engineers considered impossible just 24 months ago, closing a gap that seemed permanently locked. The implication is straightforward. Since a battery that conducts ions almost as fast as liquid technology can finally compete head-to-head with the lithium-ion packs powering every electric vehicle on the road today. The numbers coming out of the energy density race deserve close attention because they redraw the boundaries of what an electric car can physically become. Toyota is targeting cells capable of storing between 450 and 500 watt-hours per kilogram in its first production units, while BYD is pushing toward 400 watt-hours per kilogram, combined with a charging rate of 5 times the battery's capacity per hour. The famous 5C rating that fills a cell completely in roughly 12 minutes. These figures sit alongside the current standard of 250 to 300 watt-hours per kilogram delivered by lithium-ion batteries rolling off assembly lines this year. The gap between old and new is no longer incremental, but generational. What this leap means in practical terms reaches every corner of vehicle design and ownership. A sedan carrying the same battery weight as today's models could suddenly travel almost twice the distance between charges, while a compact car could match current range using a battery pack half the size and weight. Engineers who spent years optimizing chassis layouts around bulky battery floors are looking at completely new design freedom, and the consequences ripple outward into trunk space, interior comfort, handling dynamics, and aerodynamic efficiency. The transformation extends beyond passenger comfort and reaches the financial math of long-haul electric trucks, delivery fleets, and any operation where range anxiety still dictates daily decisions about whether an electric vehicle can replace a combustion engine. The biggest surprise of the year did not come from Toyota's research campus or BYD's massive engineering centers, but from a small Finnish startup that nobody outside specialized circles had heard of before January. Donut Lab walked onto the CES 2026 stage in Las Vegas, carrying a presentation that made veteran battery engineers in the audience exchange uncomfortable glances. The company unveiled a solid-state cell and proceeded to list specifications so aggressive that each individual claim, taken alone, would already represent a major breakthrough worth celebrating across the industry. Together, packed into the same product, the numbers crossed into territory that the laws of electrochemistry had supposedly closed off years ago. The list of announced specifications reads almost like a wish list, written by someone unfamiliar with the trade-offs that govern battery design. The cell reportedly delivers 400 watt-hours per kilogram of energy density, accepts a full recharge in just 5 minutes, survives 100,000 charge cycles before meaningful degradation, contains no rare earth elements anywhere in its construction, and costs less to manufacture than a conventional lithium-ion equivalent. Any seasoned battery engineer reading this combination would immediately notice the problem, because every one of these properties traditionally requires sacrificing something else on the list. Achieving them all simultaneously is the kind of breakthrough that rewrites textbooks rather than fills product brochures. The skepticism from the scientific community arrived within hours of the announcement and came loaded with technical objections. Reaching 100,000 cycles typically demands a chemistry that sacrifices energy density, while pushing energy density to 400 watt-hours per kilogram normally shortens cycle life dramatically. 5-minute recharging requires handling enormous amounts of heat during the process, and managing that heat usually requires sophisticated cooling systems and expensive materials. Eliminating rare earth elements while keeping costs below lithium-ion contradicts the pricing logic that has guided battery manufacturing for 15 years. Each contradiction is solvable individually, but the combination strains the credibility of the announcement. What separates Donut Lab from countless other startups making bold claims is that the company brought a working demonstration to back up its slideshow. An 18-kilowatt battery pack built with the new cells was installed inside a Verge TS Pro electric motorcycle, and the assembly successfully sustained a 100-kilowatt charging session at the promised 5C rate, taking the battery from 10% to 80% in roughly 12 minutes. More impressive than the speed itself was the cooling method, since the entire process was handled using only air circulation, with none of the liquid cooling circuits that nearly every high-performance battery pack on the market relies on to survive fast charging. A working motorcycle is genuinely meaningful evidence, but the journey from a single prototype to a factory producing hundreds of thousands of identical cells per year is paved with disasters that have buried more promising startups than anyone in the industry cares to count. Battery chemistry tolerates very little variation between cells, and any inconsistency in raw materials, temperature, humidity, or mechanical handling during manufacturing can turn a brilliant laboratory result into a recall nightmare on public roads. The honest answer about whether Donut Labs' cells survived the leap into mass production cannot be given today, because no battery company in history has compressed that timeline into anything less than several years of painful industrial scaling. Performance numbers tell only half the story of any new battery technology, and the half they leave out is usually the one that decides whether a chemistry ever reaches a customer's driveway. Solid-state cells have finally started delivering laboratory results that justify the enthusiasm investors have shown for nearly a decade. But the gap between what these batteries achieve in controlled environments and what they cost when they roll out of a factory remains enormous. This gap is where the dream of the universal electric car keeps stumbling, and understanding why requires looking at the actual price tags attached to current production estimates rather than the optimistic projections handed out at conferences. Lithium-ion batteries currently cost around $115 per kilowatt-hour to manufacture, a number that represents 15 years of relentless industrial refinement, global supply chain optimization, and the combined engineering effort of almost every major automaker on the planet. When the same calculation is applied to solid-state production today, the numbers tell a different story altogether, sitting between $400 and $800 per kilowatt-hour, depending on which manufacturer's data is being reviewed. Taking the middle of that range at around $600 per kilowatt-hour, a typical 75 kilowatt-hour battery pack for a mid-size electric sedan costs approximately $45,000 just for the battery alone, before any other component is built or installed. That number consumes the entire budget of a complete vehicle before the chassis is welded, before the motor is mounted, before the interior is upholstered, before the software is programmed, and before the dealer adds the markup that funds the showroom. The math stops describing an affordable transportation solution and starts describing a financial instrument on wheels, accessible only to buyers who already own a beach house and treat car purchases as portfolio decisions. Three specific factors keep this price stubbornly elevated, and each one resists the kind of quick fixes that engineering teams hope will materialize overnight whenever a new technology hits production scale. The first factor lies in the solid electrolyte materials themselves, particularly the sulfide compounds that the industry has chosen as its preferred chemistry. Synthesizing these materials with the purity level a reliable cell requires turns out to be enormously expensive, since even microscopic impurities compromise both conductivity and lifespan in ways that show up as catastrophic failures months after the battery leaves the factory. The second factor becomes obvious to anyone visiting a solid-state manufacturing facility because certain chemicals react violently with the humidity that hangs naturally in normal air. Production lines must operate inside dry rooms with relative humidity held below 1%, and building such a facility consumes tens of millions of dollars before a single cell is manufactured. The third factor is perhaps the most resistant to easy solutions, because it involves the percentage of cells that come off the production line without defects. Lithium-ion lines today reach yield rates that hover near perfection after years of refinement, while solid-state pilot lines still discard a significant portion of every batch they produce. When 7 out of 10 cells survive quality control, the 3 rejected units must be paid for by someone, and that someone always turns out to be the final buyer of the car. Industry analysts split into 2 camps regarding when this situation improves, with optimists projecting around $140 per kilowatt-hour by 2028, while more cautious voices push that figure to $175 per kilowatt-hour somewhere between 2032 and 2033. While solid-state engineers struggle against the unforgiving mathematics of yield rates and dry rooms, a completely different chemistry has been quietly accumulating credentials in the background. Far from the spotlight that follows the announcements coming out of Toyota and BYD, aluminum-ion technology arrives at the conversation with an opening statement that catches almost everyone off guard the first time they read the numbers. A commercial 15 kilowatt-hour pack built with this chemistry has already crossed the mark of 20,000 complete charge and discharge cycles before showing any meaningful degradation in performance. That figure sounds modest until it gets placed next to what lithium-ion batteries actually deliver inside real electric vehicles during normal daily use. A typical lithium-ion pack survives somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 cycles before capacity loss becomes severe enough to compromise the vehicle's range. Operators running fleets of delivery vans, city buses, or commercial trucks calculate their replacement schedules around this number, planning to swap out battery packs every 4 or 5 years at a cost that often approaches the value of a brand-new vehicle. With 20,000 cycles sitting on the table, the entire spreadsheet that governs fleet electrification gets thrown out and rewritten from scratch. The possibility of never replacing a battery pack during the operational lifetime of a vehicle stops being wishful thinking and starts behaving like a realistic business assumption that changes purchasing decisions. Safety is where aluminum-ion chemistry separates itself even further from the materials currently dominating the market. Lithium-ion batteries carry the constant risk of thermal runaway, a chain reaction where a single damaged cell begins heating uncontrollably and can engulf an entire battery pack in flames within seconds. Engineering teams spend significant budgets building elaborate thermal management systems, embedding sensors throughout the assembly, running liquid coolant through carefully designed circuits, and adding protective layers that defend against punctures and impacts. Aluminum-ion cells simply do not exhibit this chemical tendency toward runaway heating, which means most of that protective apparatus can be either drastically simplified or eliminated entirely from the design. The simplification of safety systems flows directly into the final pricing of any vehicle built around this chemistry. Production cost projections at scale land somewhere between $55 and $60 per kilowatt-hour, which translates to roughly half of what lithium-ion currently costs and approximately 1/10 of what solid-state batteries demand today. Applied to a 75 kilowatt-hour pack, the battery component costs around $4,500, while the same capacity in lithium-ion sits near $8,600 and in solid state can exceed $45,000. The difference is not the kind of incremental gain that engineering meetings celebrate with cautious optimism, but rather a structural shift that completely changes which buyers can realistically afford an electric car. The aggressive pricing comes from more than just the metal itself. Although aluminum genuinely costs a fraction of what lithium commands on international commodity markets, the larger savings emerge from what this chemistry removes from the bill of materials. Since aluminum-ion cells contain no cobalt, whose prices swing violently, and whose extraction concentrates in politically unstable regions of Africa. They also avoid the high nickel concentrations that energy-dense lithium chemistries demand, eliminating another volatile commodity from the supply chain. Add the disappearance of complex thermal management systems, and the cost floor drops to a level where electric cars can finally compete directly against any combustion engine vehicle sitting on a neighborhood dealership lot. Despite the package of advantages that would make any cost engineer smile from ear to ear, aluminum-ion chemistry carries a weakness that prevents it from sweeping the entire automotive market overnight. The volumetric energy density of these cells, meaning the amount of energy that fits into each liter of battery volume, remains noticeably behind both lithium-ion and the emerging solid-state competitors. Translating that limitation into practical terms, a battery pack built with aluminum-ion chemistry needs to occupy more physical space inside the vehicle to deliver the same driving range that a lithium-ion pack provides in a smaller footprint. The metal that wins on durability and price loses ground the moment the conversation shifts to packaging. Inside a large commercial truck or a long city bus, this extra volume is a manageable concern that engineers can absorb without redesigning the entire vehicle. Inside a low-slung sports sedan, a compact crossover, or any passenger car where every cubic centimeter of cabin space gets fought over by designers,